Hi guys, and welcome to this Model Engineers Workshop. Today in the workshop, we're going to take 8 parts, 16 screws, and turn them into 4 bigger parts. Hi guys, I'm the chef. So today we're going to carry on with the axle boxes. So as you can see, hopefully, I'm going to focus. There's a little number 1 on there and a number 1 on the top. So this is the front left in the Locomotive. So we machined all of this out last time. I've taken the bearings out like I said I would. And now we need to get these into the mill. We need to drill the 4 holes for the corners so that we can use the countersink and the countersunk screws, bolts, whatever you want to call them, and 1 in each corner at the right distances, of course. I'll work that out on a little piece of paper shortly. So we're going to mount this in the vise on the mill, a couple of parallels underneath. Hopefully I can get it to the right height. That way, once I've got these 4 holes drilled and tapped and everything bolted on, I can then create the relief here in the side for running up against the horn cheeks. I'm then going to take this bit off, and then we need to mill a shallow groove in the top of here. But of course, it's all going to be mounted like this way in the vise on the mill. So we're going to put that back, do the 4 holes, do the 2 recesses. So this then becomes, this rear plate becomes the right size. We then take this off, and we, as I say, this little recess in the top of here is for the 4 springs to sit in. So to stop them sliding off, that's what the top edge of this plate does, the rear cover. So it stops the springs sliding off the box inwards towards the middle of the Locomotive. So we're going to have 1 operation drilling and tapping and putting the screws in, 2 on this side, 3 on that side, whip this off, go across what is the top, or in this case, as it's in the mill, will be the back of the axle box to put in. It's only like 1.5 mils across there, so it's not a great deal. Now, of course, once this is in the vise, this has then got to, this part has got to be concentric with this part. So that hole has to match with that hole, just to make sure the alignment's right. There is a bit of leeway in there, but yeah, there's a little bit of looseness in that. Some of them are a little bit looser than this one. And so to make sure they line up properly, I think I've got a trick up my sleeve, but I won't say any more about that at the moment. I'll get set up in the vise and I'll talk you through it. All right, guys, back in a bit. Right, so here we are in the mill. Parallels on the bottom. You can just, actually, let me zoom you out a little bit so you can see a bit better. There we go. Right, so if you can see here by my finger, I've got a parallel laying flat in the bottom of the vise. I've got a parallel standing up to give me the right height, so that I'm holding on to about 3 mil of the bottom of the axle box, which means that when we come to mill the recesses here in the sides for the axle box horn keeps, we'll be able to just machine across and not damage the vise. Now, you can see that's loose and wobbling, and we have to get that centered to the spindle with all the holes, and then we need to make sure that the axle box rear cover is also lined up on that spindle center. So this is my thinking. I've got here a dead center M3. It's in a holder in the spindle. Now, of course, if I just bring that down and making sure that the point is going through the hole, yeah, you can see it actually moves. I'll zoom it back in now. You might be able to see that a little better. Let me do that again for you. You can see that that actually slides the axle box, and it's now, loosen the vise a bit more. It's now where the spindle needs to be. Right. Okay. It's now, that hole is now centered on the spindle. Now I'm just going to lock the spindle down so it holds it tight for me. Now I'm just going to go and look across the back of the vise here, and I'm going to move the whole table towards me, so over this way, until the back, what is in reality the top of the axle box, is in contact with the, no, still not quite right. with the top of that, with the vice jaw. There we go. I can't twist it anymore. So if I tighten the vice up this way, there we go. Doesn't need to be overly tight. We've got no slide left and right. We've got nothing backwards and forwards. We've got no rotation. So I can now release the spindle. There we go. Drop that out. Take that out of the way. Now, of course, lining up the numbers like I've shown you before, if we slot that back in there, bring this down again, there we are, it will lock the spindle. I can just rotate that to make sure it's square, but it's now actually holding the rear plate again in line with the spindle. So what we do now is we're going to take this, well, I'll lift this up. I'm going to clean the top of this top surface of the axle box and the underside of the back plate with some acetone. Whop in some super glue. Use the spindle to hold that down while it sets. And once set, I can take this out, put the drill chuck in, work out my coordinates for the 4 holes, and we can be drilling and tapping. The super glue is only there just to hold it still for 1 hole, really, maybe 2 at the most. If it breaks free after that, it doesn't matter. The thing is actually in place. Right, so I'm going to just loosen the spindle. There we go. Take that off. I've got a bit of cleaning to do with acetone. When I've got that done and we're ready to super glue, I'll bring you back. Okay, so the cleanup is done. Just make sure we've got everything the right way around. 2 little drops of super glue, probably, I don't know, 6, maybe 8, around about. Kind of towards the corners. That should see us. Out away safely with the lid back on. Put this into place. Wiggle it down. Bring the spindle down just to make sure we're all lined up and square. Square enough anyway. There we go. Lock the spindle. Just get a little bit more pressure on it. There we go. Lock the spindle. Right. Walk away for a few minutes. Let that set. And when I come back, we'll start drilling some holes. I'll work out the coordinates in the meantime. All right, guys. Here goes. Right, guys. So a few minutes have moved on. The super glue has securely held that in place. I've made my little drawing, as you can see. So basically we're going to go up 19 and across 19, and then it's down to 38, across 38 and up 38. We're going to be center drilling first, which is already in the drill chuck. We're going to be tapping M4, so M4 is a 0.7mm pitch thread, so we should have a 3.3 drill. I don't have one of those. This is a 3.5. It'll make tapping a little bit easier. As you can see, an M4 tap is quite thin. I don't really want to break one. And so I will drill, center drill to the right depth. I'm then going to go in with the tap and get that started in the machine. Then it will drop everything down, put the little tap wrench onto the top of the tap it to full depth. And I'm going to get the countersinks out, get the countersink in to fit the top of that little screw there, and then get that screwed in before we move on to the next one. Right, guys, so let's power this up, and actually first things first, let me get this across to where I need to be. So I need to go up 19 from the center line. I'm just looking at the DRO as I do this, guys, so bear with me. 19, almost there. And bingo. And I'm going to lock the table on that dimension for the moment. And I'm going to come across 19, 16, 17, 18. Almost overshot it a little bit there, so let's wind it back. Try to get it as accurate as we can, of course. 5, 7, 8, 19, there we go. Lock down the table in both directions. So, all being well, yep, looks about right to me. Right, so, I'm just going to pause there, guys, hang on. Right, back again now. I'll just have to recheck the drawing. Yes, I've got that right. So it just looked like that was going to be mighty close to the edge. But no, it all seems to tally up with the drawings. It all seems to be matching up nicely. Right, so this is going to get a bit noisy as it always does, guys. Get this first hole drilled and tapped and the screw put in. And we should be good. All right, here goes. Yeah. Yes. Right, so changed my mind a little bit halfway through there. Did the can sink before I put the tap in, but it doesn't make any difference. The end result will be the same. So we'll get this little tap wrench onto here, and we'll tap as we always do. A little bit forward, a little bit backwards, so we're breaking the chips every time. I know this is a spiral tap, and theoretically the chips should come out. Should come up the flutes like they do on an ordinary twist drill, but I'm not going to take chances. We just go until we feel that we hit the bottom, so we get full depth of thread. And we'll have a bit of a clean off and see if we can get that screw to go in. So far the Loctite is holding. Super glue, it's not actually Loctite brand, no sponsorships there. I went from this surface down just over 20mm, so it should leave plenty of room at the bottom for any junk that should accumulate in the bottom. I'm not going to bottom the screw out, but I will take the tap down as far as it will go. There we go. It must be almost there by now. Just keep on going backwards and forwards. Oh, hang on. No, okay. Thought I felt something. Aha, there we go. There we are. Yep, that's it. We've hit bottom. Right, let's wind that out. And we'll see if they get this first little screw in. As you saw, I was checking for the depth of the countersink as we were going. I know this drill is 0.2 of a mil bigger than it theoretically could be, but this is not anything structural. Just it's got 4 screws holding this little back plate in place. There we go. Let's have that out of the way. I can see threads in the hole. That's good enough. Now, did I really see where my little screw went? Thought I had it on the top of here. Right, I'll just grab another one. Hang on. Right, here we go. A fine thread, of course. Wanting to start. Must be a bit of junk in there. Let me just get some of these bristles down in the hole just to clear it out of the way. Yeah, definitely wanting to go in. Right, oh, there's one. I found the first screw now. You can see it. Right, what's going on there? Right, just give us a second, guys. I'll be back. Right, so first screw's in, down, nice and flush. 2, 3, and 4 to go. I'll bring you back when I've got that done. All right, guys, see you in a bit. Okay, guys, so it's now a couple of hours further on. As you can see, all 4 axle boxes are now complete. 1, 2, 3, 4. They're all numbered up. I will need to remove the numbers. I'll need to stamp more in the middle because I've already taken out those numbers which I put in the corners, which tallied with these ones. And of course, we're going to be milling the recess in the top of these axle boxes to keep for the springs themselves. So once the springs of that recess has been made, I'll restamp all of these because then they stay as pairs. Right, that was an interesting little job. I did add an extra little operation because I started off with center drill, drilling to depth for the tap, countersinking, threading, and then I put in the extra operation of drilling just deep enough to go through the covers with a 4.2mm drill, which is clearance size for M4 bolts, these little M4 countersunk screws that we've used, so that the covers will clamp down really, really tight. They're not going to be, you're not threading into 2, so if somehow there's a little gap when I was putting the threads in, of course that would never tighten down if both parts were threaded. But now that the top plate, or the rear plate here, is now got a clearance hole in it, doesn't matter what happens now, they will clamp down solid all the way. Right, so getting to be a long video. Right, give me a second. Righto, guys, so I'll bring this video to a close at the moment. There's one of the axle boxes with the back plate actually nicely screwed on. There's the 4 screws, you can see them there. In the next video, we'll start putting the cuts in, the slots and the grooves that all need to make this fit for the horn cheeks and for the springs. All right, guys, as you can see behind me, this is the last video before Christmas, so I'll wish you all a very Merry Christmas for 2024. Look forward to seeing you all again in 2025. So I'll now bring this video to a close like I normally do. If you can find it in your heart and soul to give me a like, a subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you know when I send out the next video, that would be wonderful. If you're a watcher, please give me a Christmas present. Give me a subscribe. I would love your company on the journey of building this 7 1/4 Loco. All right, guys, this is the chef saying see you later.